There's a few things we need to bring about in today's lesson. So we're going to start with a review. Page 115, we'll review a couple of the last pages from last time briefly so we could get on to the exciting, fresh material of today. So if you have the book, open to page 115. And so like the second paragraph, we'll look at that first sentence. As we have said, all other anxieties can be reduced to this one ultimate anxiety. If you remember, this chapter is called Positive Anxiety, which is revolutionary in itself, that we can use our anxiety in a positive way. And all of our anxieties can be reduced to this question: why isn't Mashiach here? Why hasn't the Geula? How come we haven't been redeemed? We could, all our anxiety. So we're transforming darkness into light. We're transforming our personal anxiety into cosmic anxiety. I didn't actually tell a joke. Does that count as a joke? I don't think so. L'chaim. I'll have to see if I could think of a joke. Actually, I heard a horrible joke. Okay, well, it's a little weird joke, but I'm going to tell a joke. I'm feeling friendly. It's a joke that I heard from Y.Y. Jacobson. So he said that in the day of Stalin, Yamak Shemo, he had a group of Uzbeki peasants come to give a tour of his palace. And after they left, he saw that his golden revolver was missing. And he called Beria, the Yamak Shemo, the head of the KGB, and said, I had a group of Uzbeki peasants here, and now my golden revolver is missing. One of them must have stolen it. And Beria said, I'll be right on it, boss. And then a half an hour later, Stalin calls Beria back, and he said, I found it. I misplaced it. It was just in the drawer. And Beria said, shame, they all confessed already. It's not really that funny if anyone who tasted the bitter waters of that time. But I don't know if that counts as a joke, but all right, l'chaim. Now back to our studies about that all our anxieties can be reduced to this one ultimate anxiety. Okay, the next paragraph speaks about the Rebbe, who spoke so much, especially in the last years, 90, 91, 92, and we were living in Crown Heights then, about bringing Mashiach and the importance of bringing Mashiach, and how, and I guess there's a point where it didn't really penetrate that deeply into my psyche, because I see in preparing this chapter about Mashiach that I needed it to penetrate a little deeper. Okay, so let's see how we can get there a little deeper there. So the Rebbe said, the foremost reason the redemption has not yet come is that we do not sufficiently yearn for it. By being truly anxious over Mashiach's absence, we hasten his arrival. Now that's really positive anxiety. Want to hasten Mashiach's arrival? So we have to be anxious that he's not here. We transform our anxiety into anxiety that Mashiach is not here yet. It's a brilliant idea. I mean, let's not just have boring anxiety. Where is my cell phone? I can't have my cell phone. I mean, my life can be deeper than that. I could transform my anxiety. Where is the redemption? We have to practice. The next time we're feeling anxious, we're going to go for the whole way. Okay, so we hasten his arrival, the Rebbe said. By wanting Mashiach, like being anxious, why isn't Mashiach here? We hasten his arrival. And speaking about that, have said also tzaddikim are yearning for Mashiach. So let's turn the page to 116, and the top of the page speaks about basic anxiety that results from the inherent limitations of creation. We can't feel one with God whenever we want. We're here, we're creations. We don't always feel one with God. And we have to relate to everything in terms of time and space. And our heart's desire to cleave to God is often frustrated. Okay, we're trapped in the limitations and conceptual modes of the physical world. until Mashiach comes. And then we can cleave to God when we want to cleave to God, which is probably all the time. Okay. So, now we're going to get a little more serious in our review. So the next to the last paragraph on 116, because we have a couple of more paragraphs to review. Despite the profound intensity of Mashiach anxiety, it is subdued in its nature as a non-specific reaction to the general state of reality, rather than a response to a specific problem, like where is my cell phone. It underlies the whole of life subliminally. So it's like to just make it more conscious that we're yearning for Mashiach, that it's part of our life. Unlike other forms of anxiety that impair our ability to function normally, this super anxiety or sub-anxiety does not incapacitate us in any way. It doesn't, we're transforming our anxiety that may incapacitate us into an anxiety that doesn't incapacitate us. On the contrary, it inspires us and fills us with the positive energy and joy of optimistic purpose. So there's a nice thing. Let's fill our life with optimistic purpose. What is that optimistic purpose? We want to bring the Geula. We were entrusted by Hashem, by the Rebbe. Here we are at Sivaos Hashem to bring the Geula. And it's something on every level. I mean, we could ask ourselves, will my next action bring the Geula? Will the words I'm about to say bring the Geula? Will thoughts that I want to follow bring the Geula? So yes, let's say yes. And then positive energy and optimistic purpose is the way to go about it. We're on the edge of the Geula, and we're going to speak more about it. Okay. The bottom paragraph, the psychological polarity of anxiety versus cheerfulness is characteristic of the inner dimension of the Torah, which enables us effectively to live in a state of paradox. Now that's very interesting. So there's the paradox now of anxiety versus cheerfulness, the concept of a paradox. I'm just going to read one more sentence and then we'll talk about this. In the words of the Zohar, weeping is wedged in my heart on this side and joy is wedged in my heart on the other. So we spoke about this many, many times, this line, just to review in case there's any new people. So Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai had a son, Rabbi Elazar, who's buried with him there next to him in Meron. And one day in this generation, after the destruction of the second Beit Midrash, Rabbi Shimon told his son the secrets of the destruction of the Beit Midrash. And Rabbi Elazar was Bechia, his weeping on one side of his heart, and Chedva, the cutting edge of joy, on the other side of his heart. Why? Because on one side of his heart, his father told him what it really meant that the Beit Midrash was destroyed. He was weeping. On the other hand, his father was sharing with him the deepest secrets of Torah, and he felt great joy. And when the Alter Rebbe brings this down in Tanya, he's saying that our hearts can bear this paradox. We can have two opposite feelings at the same time. And I guess it's really sanity. It's really a description of sanity, because there's things to cry about. We have to see reality accurately and be able to empathize with people that are suffering. So there's crying on one side, and Chedva, that the next moment could be the Geula. So that's a paradox, and it's Pnimius HaTorah, which we're learning together, the inner light of Torah, which enables us to bear the paradox of reality. In Rav Yitzchak's book on Aleph Base, the meditation on Aleph is bearing the paradox. It's the Aleph of Yiddishkeit, to be able to bear the paradox. Otherwise, it's madness, and it's always changing. It's not even like, oh, now I can bear the paradox, because it's a new paradox the next moment. It's like, we have to each moment be open to the concept that life is a paradox, that our seichel can't bear, that we can't bear it through intellect. That's why, why is like, why did this happen? It's like banging one's head against the wall. It can't be grasped with seichel. The paradox, I guess, is grasped with the keser, with the munah. It's that it's all coming from Hashem on the way to the Geula. Okay, So bottom paragraph, the psychological, we did that. Okay, top of 117, one more chapter to review before we reach fresh material. Whatever form it takes, anxiety over the coming of Mashiach both focuses and intensifies our concern with the incompleteness of life. When we generalize this concern to the overall unredeemed condition of reality, whether on the level of common human suffering or the existential constrictions of creation, our anxiety takes on a more profound meaning. Again, this idea, our anxiety, underline that, our anxiety takes on a more profound meaning. We can be deep people. Even though my first encounter with anxiety, of course, as I told, was when I left my cell phone in the public bathroom, 10 miles away, whatever. So, I can have a deeper life than this. I can have a more meaningful life than that. I can have my anxiety can take on profound meaning. So this is very exciting. Next time we're feeling anxious, we must recognize it and let it take on profound meaning. Thus, if existential anxiety in general prepares us for the study of the inner dimension of the Torah. So again, we spoke about how anxiety is the preparation. Only us anxious people are interested in learning this. You wouldn't be here tonight listening to Panemius Torah, except for that prerequisite of a little anxiety. This is the in crowd. Okay. Existential anxiety over Mashiach is the ultimate. Okay, thus, if existential anxiety in general prepares us for the study of the inner dimension of the Torah, existential anxiety over the coming of Mashiach prepares us for the ultimate revelation of the inner dimension of the Torah that will accompany the advent of Mashiach. For the inner dimension of the Torah that we know today is but a foretaste of the revelation we will witness with the Geula, with the redemption. So that's exciting. I mean, it's nice. We're very lucky we get to learn Panemius Torah today. I mean, who would become from without Panemius Torah? But it's going to get even better and more exciting when Mashiach comes. So that's as far as we got last time. And now we're up to an exciting new subchapter called the Spark of Mashiach. If a few more people could put on their cameras, please. It's just like breathing energy into the class when I see the lovely faces. Oh, people are great. That's the attitude. Think of it as Mesiras Nefesh, putting on your camera for the sake of the Jewish people. Yes, great looking group, gorgeous. Old friends, new friends. Wow, cool. Okay, the Spark of Mashiach, page 117. According to Kabbalah, every Jew has within him a spark of Mashiach. Now, this footnote, I'll just tell you, it's very fast. It's saying that it's from the Meor Einayim, the first Chernobyl Rabbi Nachum of Chernobyl, and he said it in the name of the Baal Shem Tov. So this is Baal Shem Tov. Every Jew has within him a spark of Mashiach. So let's keep that in mind. We have a spark of Mashiach within. Well, people are doing funny faces. Okay, that's good. Just as the arrival of Mashiach depends on, I'm sorry, I skipped a sentence. This spark is our drive and capacity to act as a redeeming force for ourselves, for those who we know, and for everything in the world with which we come in contact. Redeeming force, we're being empowered by the Baal Shem Tov to be a redeeming force in the world. That is a good shlichus, right? Like, let's be a redeeming force in the world. Go, yes, we must, with optimism, a redeeming force with optimism. We're being empowered. Okay. Just as the arrival of Mashiach depends on and is hastened by our anxiety over his delay, this is what the Rebbe said, the actualization of the Mashiach spark within us requires first that we be anxious over the fact that it has not manifested itself. So we can decide. What I found very empowering about this is that Rabbi Yitzchak is saying that let's decide what we're anxious about. Okay, I'm feeling anxiety. I wouldn't have thought that was possible. I thought, well, I'm anxious, but I can't find my cell phone. that I couldn't transfer that to something more cosmic. I thought, like, I'm just superficial forever. But no, we can decide what we want to be anxious about. This is so important. And we have to practice. The deepest complex in our psyche is the frustration we feel over not being able to fully actualize our potential to live up to what we are capable of becoming. We want to, remember we spoke about it, like there's psychological complexes that hold us back from actualizing our potential. It's frustrating. We want to be empowered to actualize our potential, to live up to what we feel we're capable of becoming. Deep down, we know that our soul is a part of God. Chapter 2 of Tanya, Chelek Elokai Mima'al Mamish, that we have a piece of Hashem within us. And deep down, we know it. We just have to make it more conscious. It can't just be deep down. It has to be in our conscious mind. We have a piece of God within us. The Chelek Elokai Mima'al is a quote from Iyov, a part of God above. And the Alter Rebbe adds Mamish. That's the Kiddush of the Alter Rebbe. It's taking a pasuk from Iyov and saying Mamish. It's not just poetry. Oh, you have a spark of God within you. It's Mamish. We do. We need to actualize it. Okay, so deep down we know that our soul is a part of God, and through it we are capable of revealing Hashem's presence in the world. The fact that we are prevented from doing so troubles us. So revealing Hashem's presence in the world is our shlichus. It's a very exciting shlichus. I mean, little humble me, revealing Hashem's presence in the world. It's beautiful. Life is filled with meaning, revealing Hashem's presence in the world. Okay, let us continue. Again, this is the fresh material for this week. The frustration is equivalent to anxiety over not being able to actualize our inner Mashiach spark. It is the Mashiach spark within us that gives rise to this existential anxiety. Now, there's an interesting idea. First of all, this idea of existential anxiety, just that term together, an existential anxiety coming from the spark of Mashiach within us. Why isn't Mashiach here? We have that. The more we think about the purpose of life and the urgency of rectifying reality, the more intense this anxiety becomes. The urgency of rectifying reality. Life is meaningful. I'm here to rectify reality. Yes, yes. As noted earlier, this anxiety sensitizes us to the inner dimension of Torah. So we become more able to deeply take in this panemius, this inner dimension of Torah. Although the study of Torah's inner dimension serves to heighten our awareness of the urgent need for redemption, it also bolsters our belief and optimism that redemption is imminent. So this is the two sides of the heart. One side, urgent need for redemption. I mean, we can see that. I mean, so many times people put up, please daven for my friend, please daven for my relative. There's certainly an urgent need for redemption. There's so many people and ourselves and everyone, urgent need for redemption on one side of the heart. And at the same time, optimism that redemption is imminent. The Rebbe promised that the redemption is imminent. We can see how if we believe that redemption is imminent, how it changes everything, how, like every moment, it's so exciting. Redemption is imminent. Yes, let's get in that last mitzvah. So two things. I remember once when Rabbi Yitzchak was he was giving a class for women in 770. And he said, I always remember this, he said, we have to be sane and insane at the same time. On the one hand, we have to see reality accurately so we can truly empathize with people that are suffering. And on the other hand, we have to believe the next moment can be the redemption. So this is a huge paradox. This is a huge paradox. Both sides of my heart are occupied in this paradox, but we're being empowered to do it. We're being empowered to do it. And it's a moment-to-moment change of that move. Sanity, insanity, yes. Okay. So this optimism takes the edge off the bitterness of our anxiety. Next paragraph. The revelation of the Mashiach spark does not happen all at once. Doesn't happen all at once. Inasmuch as the divine soul embodies infinite layers of potential, as soon as we actualize and exhaust one level of our divine potential, deeper, more powerful levels become accessible to us and challenge us to reveal our Mashiach spark at this deeper level of divine potential. So it's saying that we can do it deeper and deeper. We don't have to be bored. We're going to just always get deeper and deeper in terms of our potential. We have a piece of Hashem's infinity in us. We can get to be deeper and deeper people. Don't be bored. In other words, progressing on the path of spiritual growth is akin to climbing a spiral staircase. You know, this idea of the spiral staircase, I also heard Y.Y. Jacobson speak about it, that in the Beit Midrash itself, there was a spiral staircase, the thing of seeing, disappearing, seeing, disappearing, change. Okay, let's continue. The ongoing dynamic of tension and fulfillment spurs us to realize our Mashiach spark, our ability to redeem the world on continuously higher levels. So it's growth, continuously higher levels of realizing our Mashiach spark and our ability to redeem the world. Like, it makes a difference what we say. We can redeem the world with the next words that come out of our mouth, or God forbid the opposite. So exciting. Each moment is so exciting. The greater our anxiety, the more we are inspired to deepen our relationship with Hashem. That in itself is a great sentence. The greater our anxiety, the more we are inspired to deepen our relationship with Hashem. So this is positive anxiety, using our anxiety, which we never thought was anything really that exciting, to deepen our relationship with Hashem. And I find in the last 2 weeks where this concept of deepening our relationship with Hashem through our anxiety has really made a difference in my davening, because just the concept that we want to deepen our relationship with Hashem helps. Just being conscious that we want to deepen our relationship with Hashem helps us do it. So deepen our relationship with Hashem, delve into the secrets of Torah, and reveal our inner spark. Yes, it's very attractive, that inner spark. If you see somebody with their inner spark revealed, we're naturally drawn to those people. They look good. In turn, the more we deepen our relationship with God, study the inner dimensions of the Torah, and become inspired to redeem the world, the more we feel the urgency of redemption and our anxiety over its delay intensifies. So again, both sides of the heart. I'm inspired and I feel anxious. Where is that geula? Where is the geula? It's a mitzvah. It's a mitzvah to be anxious about where it brings the geula. But at the same time, we have to be optimistic that it could come in a moment. In turn, the more we deepen our relationship with God, bottom 2 lines. Because the Torah is infinite, and every understanding of life it gives us is also infinite. Every answer to life and to life's anomalies the Torah offers gives rise to a deeper question in its wake. Each level of understanding is replaced by a succeedingly deeper level. Okay, so this deeper questions, as we gain an understanding, deeper questions arise in our mind. This ongoing dynamic of tension and resolution is necessary for our continued spiritual growth. Now that's a good thing, right? We've gathered here together for our continued spiritual growth, right? Why else watch a Zoom class when you could be doing other exciting things, reading Little Lulu comic books, playing Sudoku? But no, we want continued spiritual growth. So tension and resolution. The tension, where is Mashiach? Where is the geula? And the resolution that it could be the next moment. With every answer, with every new comprehensive understanding of reality, comes a sense of satisfaction at having achieved it. This satisfaction naturally spawns complacency. Here you go. Satisfaction naturally spawns complacency. That's the bad part of satisfaction. Complacency is like apathy, like everything is just fine. My life is fine. It's not an attractive quality, complacency. Have you ever met anyone who is complacent? The problem is solved, we have the answer. And there's nothing that feeds the ego more than the feeling that we possess all the answers. Nothing that feeds the ego more than the feeling that we possess all the answers. So that is not a good feeling, feeding the ego, feeling we possess all the answers. It is therefore necessary to prevent this by asking a new, deeper question immediately upon finding the answer to the previous one. So it's it's endless, deep questions, constant, but not allowing for complacency. If you have an attack of complacency, go deeper. Of course, the infinity of this process does not mean that it will never reach its conclusion. It is taught in Kabbalah and Hasidus that when a certain critical mass of the individual sparks of Mashiach is actualized, Mashiach himself will be revealed and the ultimate final redemption will occur. Okay, so let's go over this concept of critical mass, because that's high school physics. And not everybody might have had the luck of taking high school physics. So I want to speak about critical mass and how it applies to what we're talking about here. So critical mass, the initial, now it's used, commonly in speaking, but the initial meaning of critical mass is that you need a certain amount of uranium for it to explode. Let's say we want to bomb out Amalek, the Yetzer Hara. So in our airplane, we'll have 3 balls of uranium separated from each other, each in their own little special anti-uranium compound. And then when we get right over Amalek, the Yetzer Hara, the separations are taken away and there's a critical mass, the amount of uranium necessary for there to be an explosion. You need a certain amount of material to have enough subatomic particles moving around that could cause an explosion. So if you don't have the critical mass, nothing is going to happen. You're totally safe carrying your uranium. It's not going to explode. Okay, so what does that mean? So you understand the concept, the minimal amount of mass you need for something to happen. It's called critical mass. So it's taught in Kabbalah and Hasidus when a certain critical mass of the individual sparks of Mashiach is actualized, Mashiach himself will be revealed, and the ultimate final redemption will occur. So what is this saying? I found this extremely hopeful, this idea, because we could have some idea, maybe for Mashiach to come, everyone has to be from, or everyone has to, and then it seems like so far away. But if it's only a certain critical mass, it seems like we're very close. Look at all Jewish history. People have had so much Mesiras Nefesh. Look in our lifetime. It's a miracle. I mean, for so many of us to go from being very far away from Yiddishkeit, it's a miracle to be living a Jewish life. It's a total miracle. Just a miracle. Think of your life. I mean, all the Hashgacha Pratis, all the individual divine providence that brings us to being, knowing something about Torah, knowing something about Yiddishkeit. So I could understand how critical mass could be just one mitzvah away. There's already so many mitzvahs we've done. So all we need is the critical mass of individual sparks of Mashiach to be actualized. So we can do our part. It could be our spark of Mashiach that can reach the critical mass. It's very hopeful. It's very hopeful. It doesn't seem impossible. It doesn't seem like, it's certainly a miracle, but we've seen miracles. Living a Jewish life is a miracle in this generation. We've all seen miracles. Let's make a l'chaim there. L'chaim, l'chaim. Okay. So now we have submission, separation, and sweetening in Mashiach. But I do want to say I can't resist, since this is our last class before Purim, I must say a few words about Purim, even though it wasn't scheduled. A couple of things. You know, there's a debate, the sages in Gemara, and the Gemara about the Megillah debate, where you have to hear, from where you have to hear the Megillah to be Yotzi. Like one great sage says, from the time of the king of the sleep of the king was disturbed, because that's really where the action picks up. Another says from the rise of Haman. Another says in chapter 2 when we were introduced to Mordechai. And Rabbi Meir says, from the very, you have to hear from the very first line. And we know the halacha is like Rabbi Meir, which is unusual. Often he was so beyond the sages that they couldn't really grasp what he was saying. But here in terms of the Megillah, you know, we have to hear from Vayihi v'yimei Achashverosh. So the question is often asked, why? Why do I have to know the draperies were this color, the floor was this color, the chairs were this color? Why do I need to know all this stuff? Because the lesson is that everything in Jewish history is on the way to the Geula, to the redemption of the Jewish people, like every detail. And when I was hearing this class from Rabbi Jacobson, he said that how, like, in 1840 there was the war between China and England, the Boxer Rebellion, and how it was resolved in 1840 was that Shanghai would become an international city, that you didn't need a visa to get into Shanghai. And 100 years later, thousands and thousands of Jews were saved because they could get into Shanghai and be there for the duration of the war. So this little detail, who would think what was happening in 1840 between China and England would affect Jewish lives? But every detail is on the way to the Geula. When this class was being given in 770, there were people there, Buckets, different Chabad families, where the grandfather had been in Shanghai. He was saved. They were there. They were alive. They existed because of this little dot of Hashgacha Pratis, that Shanghai became an international city. So to see every detail in our life, in Jewish history, is on the way to the Geula. And the idea that Jewish history has a direction, it's not like when you're Lahavdil in high school learning history, it's just this happened, that happened. There's no feeling like there's a direction in history, but our history is on the way to the Geula, just how we're learning in our book. So that's one thought I couldn't resist to share. And one second thought, if I could be so bold. So we know at the end of Aleinu, we say 3 Pesukim, and in 770 they always sing these Pesukim. And in Chabad Minyanim all over the world, they sing them all. So let's just take a look. If you have a siddur handy or your siddur is on your phone, open to the end of Aleinu. For those who like to look inside, grab that siddur, find Aleinu. That shouldn't be too difficult. There's a few of them in here. And let's look at the 3 lines we say after Aleinu. Okay, and maybe I'll just give a little introduction. Why are we looking at these 3 lines now? Because after Haman had Achashverosh signed the letter that on the 13th of Adar, all Jews all over the world would be exterminated on this one day, he and his cronies left Achashverosh's palace very happy. And they saw Mordechai speaking, Haman saw Mordechai speaking to 3 Jewish children. Mordechai stopped 3 Jewish children coming from school. And Mordechai asked them, what pasuk did you learn today in school? And these were the answers of the 3 children. So let's look at them. First one, the first child says, Al tira mipachad pisom umishoas rashoim kisavo. Do not fear sudden terror, nor the destruction of the wicked when it comes. That was the first child. The second child says, Utsu etzu visu for dabru davar v'lo yakum ki imanu keo. Contrive a scheme, but it will be foiled, conspire a plot, but it will not materialize. for Hashem is with us. Ki imanu kel. The third child says, V'yad zikna ani hu, v'yad seva ani esbo, ani osisi, ani eso, ani esbo v'amaleit. To your old age, I am with you. To your hoary years, I will sustain you. I have made you, and I will carry you. I will sustain you and deliver you. So these are the lines we say every day, 3 times a day, depending on how many times one says Aleinu. But everyone has said these words. So what's going on here? So these words are said. So Haman comes over. He sees Mordecai is very, very happy when he hears this, and so Mordecai says, I don't have to be afraid of you and your schemes, because Mordecai took it as prophecy. I mean, Mordecai still dressed in ashes, sackcloth and ashes, and it had to inspire the Jewish people to do tshuva, to return to Hashem, but he felt positive about being able to do it from these 3 lines. So what does it say here in these 3 lines? It's really related to what we're learning in our book, Positive Anxiety. Do not fear sudden terror. Al-tira mipachat pisom. Don't fear sudden terror. Don't be afraid. Don't be anxious. Don't be anxious. Why? Second child says, Ki manu kel, God is with us. I mean, this is speaking about the education of children. We know that the Baal Shem Tov's father, who passed away when the Baal Shem Tov was like 5 years old, the last words he said to him is fear only Hashem. Love every Jew and fear only Hashem. Ki manu kel, because God is with us. So it's speaking about this, not being weighed down by fears and anxiety. We're talking about transforming anxiety into something positive. And then this last one, v'yad zikna, we shouldn't feel a self-fulfilling, we shouldn't let life be some self-fulfilling negative prophecy. When I'm old, I'm going to be in a collapsed, miserable state. Let's not spend a lot of time meditating on that, because Hashem is with us. Hashem is with us. Hashem is carrying us. Hashem is there. This is the emunah. This is the emunah that we have on the redemption. So those are my 2 thoughts that I couldn't resist on Purim. But we have in the Elenus we have between now and Purim, Thursday night, or some people Sunday. We every time we say these words, we have to remember that these are the words that gave Mordecai so much hope and optimism that Hashem was going to save us. Even when he was out. So that's really we could see the paradox. On the one hand, he was wearing sackcloth and ashes, and on the other time, he had optimism that it was going to be the Geula. Isn't that very cool? Okay, so I wonder if I should just check any of the chats that might seem wrong place. Chat. No, I guess there's nothing urgent here, at least one I could see in the chat. So we have how many more moments? We have another 5 minutes. So let's do a little bit more in our book. Let me get this. Let me just organize myself here. Okay. We'll expand the screen. Chats. Okay. Okay, here we go. So we're up to, speaking of Hachna'a, Havdalah, Hamtaka, in Mashiach himself, submission, separation, and sweetening, which is really the theme of this book, the Baal Shem Tov's teachings on this from Keser Shem Tov, because we've looked at these 3 states in terms of so many things that we've been discussing and talking about. Okay, since the actualization of the spark of Mashiach within each individual is a process of ongoing spiritual growth, it is logical to assume that this process exhibits the same 3-fold structure that typifies any spiritual growth process. So the actualization of the spark of Mashiach within us, which is what we're talking about. I'm just trying to get my screen. Got it. Now I could see everyone again. It does help. And soon we're going to take our picture. I just want to say that this week I did send Rav Yitzchak our lovely pictures, and he said great pictures and from strength to strength. So we have the bracha of Rabbi Yitzchak to go to strength to strength in our learning of this. So I think that's very important because the empowerment, we're saying it's really revolutionary things we're talking about. Positive anxiety is definitely a revolutionary idea. So this week also we'll send a picture, since he said that they were great pictures of us all wishing him a refuah shalema. As maybe in one more minute we'll take a picture, but let's do another sentence. The feeling of helplessness in the face of a world that is imperfect and incomplete, which translates into anxiety over the delay in the coming of Mashiach, is the submission stage. So what's the hachna'ah? Hachna'ah is anxiety over the delay in the coming of Mashiach. Very simple, right? So we just have to transfer our anxiety. Everyone can understand these words, anxiety over the delay in the coming of Mashiach. That's what we're really anxious about. That's what we're anxious about, gang, right? So this is hachna'ah. It's a beautiful idea. Okay, so we're turning the page. The sages teach us that Mashiach will only come when he is not being thought about. Hesich hadas. What does this mean? It's a quote from Gemara Sanhedrin 97a. What is that saying? Although this statement seems to imply that the best way to hasten the coming of Mashiach is to ignore the subject, this obviously cannot be the sages' intention, for they clearly declare that constant expectation of the Mashiach era is a fundamental tenet of Jewish faith. In other words, constantly expecting Mashiach. This is one of the Rambam's 13 principles. It's basic part of who we are. In the words of the prophet Habakkuk, if he tarries, wait for him, for he will surely come without delay. Rather, this quote that Mashiach will only come when he is not being thought about, will come when he is least expected. Oh, underline that. Mashiach will come when he's least expected. That is, we should await his imminent arrival, even though the world seems unprepared and unworthy of it. The Nevi'im themselves have indicated that the Geula, the redemption, will come as a complete surprise. Behold, I am sending my messenger, and he will clear a path before me. This is a quote from Malachi, the Navi Malachi. Suddenly, the master, Mashiach, whom you seek, will come to his sanctuary, with suddenly being in italics, which means it could be any moment. Mashiach can come any moment. He can just suddenly come. It could be the next moment. It could be us revealing the spark within us, like just that choice of thinking before we say something. Will these words help bring Mashiach, or will they postpone Mashiach's coming? That's, it could be that much, that difference. That could bring the critical mass to the coming of the Geula. Okay, so I only have 1 minute. I think I'm going to use my last minute taking our picture, since Rabbi Yitzchak really liked our picture and said, great picture. Let's take another great picture. Could everyone, we have 54 people. We could only take the first 25, will only appear. So we still have room for 3 more people to open their camera and with that, come on. Oh, look, it's getting better each moment. Oh, look at the queue. Oh, this is going to be great. Okay, so let's all smile and get that. Oh, look, we have a full 25 people with their cameras on, at least. That's all I can see. So get well, Rav Yitzchak. Thanks so much for bringing the Geula closer. 1, 2, 3.